Hey everyone, happy holidays. Today we're going to do something slightly out of arcade realm, but not too far out. Today we're actually going to make some holiday decorations, and my sons decided that they would like a Pac-Man for the yard. We're going to take Pac-Man and put a Santa hat on him and light him up. So we've come up with some drawings here, and we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at what I've come up with. They had these lights here. Yellow lights, gold colored lights that I picked up at the, big box, Holmes store there. And I think these are like $3 or $4, pretty cheap. I picked up a sheet of plywood. This is sanded plywood. It's only 1/4 inch thick, but I think I probably should have gone with a 1/2 inch thick, but we'll see how it all works out at the end. This is probably, I don't know, $22, $23 is my guess. And so we're going to cut out Pac-Man. I think what I'd like to do also is cut out a ghost and put a Santa hat on a ghost as well, but we'll save that for another day. So if we take a look here, I've done some math to try and figure out, hey, how much, do I have enough lights to cover what I need? I've got 100 lights here, and let's turn it over to the other side. It's windy today. And that's about 20 feet worth of length for 100 lights. And so we've got, some formulas here, our basic circumference formula and our arc length formula. And we've got a firing range nearby today. So we're gonna go ahead here and I came up with the formula to figure out basically the circumference plus the little section there for Pac-Man's mouth. And I've determined that if I do make a 4-foot big Pac-Man, which is really big, that's essentially the width of this board, and then put a Santa hat on it, it's going to be like 6 feet tall. So I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm actually make it a little bit smaller. Maybe we'll go with a 3-foot diameter Pac-Man. But we end up using about 66 light out of the 100. When we use the 66 lights, that's a light every 2 inches or so. And that should get us what we need. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to measure in 1.5 feet for our radius, and we'll put a little nail in here with a string to make it essentially a giant compass as we go all the way around to cut out the silhouette here for Pac-Man. And then we're going to go ahead and we'll mark our angles here using a protractor to get the opening for the mouth. And then after that, we'll just take the jigsaw, we'll cut it all out, and we'll go from there. And then what we'll do is we'll mark for our holes as well. So we've gone ahead and measured in 19 inches from both directions here. And that's where we're going to put a nail in here to essentially make the center of our circle for Pac-Man. And then we'll go ahead and put that in and use an 18-inch string to draw our circle with a pencil, and we should get a nice round Pac-Man. We're going to go ahead now and we're going to try to tie this string up so that we get it at this mark over here. I made 18 inches. Just going to kind of loop it around. Let's see if I can do it like this. We'll tie it off. If I can do this one-handed. Maybe. Can I do it one-handed? There we go. So we've made our compass essentially. Now we're just going to take our pencil, kind of make a giant circle. We'll go around a couple times just to make sure that it's stretching out a little bit, I can tell. So you've got a circle now. It's not perfect, but we've got one for ourselves to trace. Next thing we're going to do is come in with our jigsaw. We'll follow our line all the way around until we get back to the beginning. We've got a nice circle cut out. It's the shape of Pac-Man here. We have finished cutting out our circle here for Pac-Man, so now we'll go ahead and remove the rest of this, sand the edges, and then we're going to measure out for Pac-Man's mouth. Alright, so we've gone ahead, we've got our circle here for Pac-Man cut out. I thought I had another protractor, but this is the protractor we're going to use today. We're going to need to measure out the angle for the mouth. We've got our hole here in the middle that we use the nail for. And when we do that, that will help us actually get everything kind of narrowed in. So I'm just going to take this ruler here. I'm going to draw a straight edge. So I have my baseline for my angle. Doesn't need to be anywhere in particular. So we'll just go ahead and kind of go like this right through the middle of it. Let's go up a little bit. We got our baseline for our angle here, and then we'll just kind of have the mouth open up that way. And you know, when I looked up everything there on the internet, it seems like there's varying degrees of measurement. I've seen all sorts of numbers, but I'm going to settle in at 55 degrees. I was going to do 60, but I thought 60 felt like it was a little bit too wide, so we'll draw out 55 and go from there. So here is our protractor. Let's see if we'll focus in on this. Maybe. So we have our baseline here. We're going to go over to 55 degrees. We're going to count it from the side. We're going to go right to this line. And we'll make a mark. And that'll be our 55-degree angle there. So we're going to put this like that. And let's go ahead and mark out 55 degrees and make sure our protractor is centered with the little dot that's on this ruler here. And we're going to go to 55, so 40, 55, there's 60. Go this line right there, and then we're going to come over here. We're going to draw another line, kind of coming out of it this way. So we got 2 points here. And then we'll extend all of our lines. So we'll extend that out, and we'll see how Pac-Man's mouth looks. So we've drawn Pac-Man's mouth in. Let's see if we can see this here. And I think that's gonna work. It's kind of hard to tell because you have the wood grain going this way here, so it throws it off optically, but I think we're in good shape. So now we're gonna come in, we'll cut that out, and we'll sand all the edges. And then we need to drill holes for all of our lights. Well, we've got the kids playing in the background. I'm gonna go ahead and we'll cut the mouth out here. We're just gonna follow this line with the jigsaw, and then we'll come in, turn it a little bit, and follow the other line here with the jigsaw. All right, we've spun it. We'll go ahead and cut this section now. So, in theory, this is a super simple project that anybody can do and make, their own display. Now, after I moved out to this area with my wife, she said that there was an area that they did all these displays around Christmas time. And they did all these different characters, and they lit them all up. It was just one whole street that did it. And it was really neat to see because the whole, neighborhood essentially participated in it. Now, it wasn't a very long street, but they did have a lot of things going on all these other different, pop icon cartoon characters throughout. So this is kind of something along those lines because my children have seen it. Well, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to sand the edges really quick. And then we'll kind of clean up anything we need to clean up. If there's a curve that's not good enough, which, this is going to be seen from the road, so it doesn't need to be anything crazy. As far as grit sandpaper, you can use a higher grit or a lower grit. I would probably use like 220 or something like that. Gives it a nice smooth finish. You can go higher or lower depending on what you've got. But again, this is a quick holiday project. So after this, the next thing to do is to make the marks for the holes. And we're going to test fit some before we actually start drilling holes in this thing. So I'm not sure how I want to do that yet. But we want to go ahead and make holes for all the Christmas lights. But there we go. So the next thing we need to try and do is figure out how big of a hole we need to do our lights, if that even works. So I'm going to go ahead and, isn't that interesting? You can see where they filled the plywood on the scrap piece. That's interesting. So we're going to use a scrap piece here. We're going to drill a couple holes and see what size hole works best for our lights, and if that's the way we want to do it, or if we want to just attach the lights to the outside. What I was thinking of doing is drilling a hole all the way around the edge, around the perimeter and the circumference of this Pac-Man here, to put all the lights in, and then just staple them or hot glue them or something in place. But we're going to go ahead and we'll try it. Here's the lights. We got some spare bulbs and lights here, so we can test fit it, and we'll find a drill bit that works. See, I think I'm going to have these mount from the back side so I can hide all the wires. Yeah, let's see here. Let's take a look at the 3/16, see if that's big enough. No, not quite big enough. Quarter inch maybe. Still too small. Well, we'll test fit it because the quarter inch should get us get the bulb through. But do I want some of this plastic to go through or not? That's the question. So we'll do a test. Why not, right? Just drill a hole right here. There's a hole. Let's take a bulb. Let's see what it looks like when it goes through. Well, that's what it looks like if only the bulb goes through. So I don't know if I like that. Is that how we want to do this? It's part way through. It's just the bulb that's through. I kind of want it, I think, above. So you have to go a little bit bigger. We'll try it though. Let's get another drill bit. Well, let's see, 5/16 maybe? 5/16 looks like it. We'll be really close. Let's try that one. Okay. Ooh, almost. Almost. We're reaming out just a little bit. Oh, that's perfect. So 5/16 reamed out, and that just look, that's almost in there perfectly. A little dab of hot glue or something. Perfect. That's exactly, I think, what I want to do. So 5/16 and reamed out. Look, it's so tight it even took the bulb right out. Perfect size. Maybe. Is it? We're gonna go with it. Alright. So 5/16 reamed out a little bit. Let's put this bulb back in. There we go. Alright. Next thing I need to do is figure out my spacing. I think I'm going to do every 2 inches. When I measured this, this is about 3. So if I do 2 inches, that gives me a little bit of slack. And that's 3 inches. I guess if it was 3 inches on a circumference, it would be okay. But I think, so that would be 3 inches. But if we go 2 inches, we get just that much more lights in. I think the more lights, the better. So I've determined that if I do 2-inch spacing, we use about 66 light bulbs. If we do 1.5-inch spacing, it ends up being about 88 light bulbs through our calculation. Remember, we calculated the circumference and then kind of this little wedge for the mouth out of there. So, and on this strand here, the plug goes right, is like, 3 inches from the last bulb. So I don't actually have much extra room here, and it is even the same on the other side, where some bulbs are like string lights that, they give you an extra foot of nothing, because that's where you would plug it in. So this is not the case with this one, so I do need to make sure that I have some. So I think if I do 88, about 87, 88 bulbs at a 1.5-inch spacing, that's a lot of holes to drill, but I think it'll probably look the best with that many lights. It'll be nice and bright. Although, we'll test it out on the scrap piece to see what everything looks like. So I've gone ahead and pushed all of the, well, not all of, some of the Christmas lights there. I've done 2 rows of 4. Each one of these is spaced 1.5 inches on center, and each one of these is spaced 2 inches apart on center. And, I just kind of pushed them through the back here. As you can see, we're going to go plug it in and see what it looks like, and then we'll go from there. While I like the closer ones here, I'm wondering if, because things will be further away and Pac-Man's yellow, if it'll be easier to see or look better when everything is 2 inches away. But I do like the lights closer together. It's a tough call. We're going to go see what it looks like with some in the shadows, because it's daytime. So let's go ahead and we'll plug this in. Hopefully none of them will fall out because I didn't glue anything in place. So there they are, 1.5 inches and 2 inches away. I don't know. Maybe 1.5 inches is the way to do it. It's just a lot more holes to drill. We'll sit there and think about it for a minute and then decide. Well, I went and asked my wife what I should do, which one she liked better. And she agreed that we should do them closer together versus farther apart. So we're going to try that. 1.5 inch spacing. We'll see how it goes. That's a lot of holes to drill. So I've gone ahead and made myself essentially a little tiny jig to mark the holes. Each one of these holes is spaced 1.5 inches apart. Now I can just lay it down and trace my holes. I also made sure that this edge here is exactly 1 inch from the border, so that should give me plenty of room to work with, and we'll go from there. But I'm going to actually make a few key hole marks, one of them being right where kind of the center of this thing is, where the mouth is. So we'll just go ahead and we'll draw this one in, and that helps. It's going to help me mark where all the holes are going to go. I'm also going to do the corners of the mouth as well. So I want to make sure that I'm in 1 inch both sides. So probably like right here. We'll check. Yeah, it's That's pretty close, right there. I just want my few key holes here marked. So, like right here. We'll check it. Actually up a little bit. Check it this way. That's pretty close. So we'll go like right there. Now everything should line up. I mean, it's not going to line up perfectly, but the key important parts, the mouth, will line up. And if we're off a little bit, we'll just adjust a couple of the light bulbs slightly. It doesn't need to be a perfect match, but it will be close enough. Now I'm just going to go around and continue out my way. So now I can just line up my hole that I've done before and keep going down the line. Everything's going to line up ideally really nice. I mean, it's okay if it's not. This is supposed to be a quick project, and my wife was like, this is taking longer than I thought, but that's okay. See how it kind of comes in, so I'm just going to end up adjusting this hole ever so slightly. And if it's a, you know, and if that ends up being okay there, then we'll leave it there. But we'll have all our holes marked before we actually drill any. So we've gone ahead and put all of the marks for the lights all the way around the edge here. And actually everything lined up pretty good. Even when I got over this section here, I'm going to tell you guys, but this hole right here is not perfect. That's the one that's not perfect, but it's spaced out pretty good. I just kind of averaged the distance between the two and put a spot there. What I'm not sure about is in here, I've got these 3 question marks. I'm questioning, do I go with that, or do I come in and just do 2 like that? Because I don't think I'm going to get that one point in there that I like. So I think I'm actually just going to go with that. And that, I'm okay with that. But again, this isn't designed to be a perfect replication of... Replication, is that a word? Replicate of Pac-Man. But so we've done Pac-Man, we've got the silhouette done, we just need to drill all the holes going all the way around, and then we got to do the Santa hat. And again, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to end up doing the Santa hat. Am I just going to do a triangle? I'm going to put some design to it like I did in my drawing. I don't know. Do I light in yellow another portion where the hat is? I'm also not sure. So we'll see what we decide to do. But I like this so far. Not too bad. And now we start the painstaking process of drilling all the holes all the way around. Well, we've gone ahead and we've drilled all the holes all the way around, and I actually did measure out this hole a little bit better, a better compromise than right here. And I think that hole right there, all lit up, is gonna look fine from the road. So there we go. All the holes are drilled. We're gonna go ahead and we'll just sand up all the, chewed up blowout stuff here from the drill. Do the same thing on the back, and then this is essentially ready for paint and sealing, and we'll probably seal the edges. Maybe, I don't know. When I worked in the sign company, we would seal the edges, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it fares. Well, we're definitely going to paint the edges. Now I do want to show you the back side just to show you the amount of blowout there is on this stuff, because one, it's thin and it's probably not the most expensive wood. Also, I could have put a block of wood behind it to prevent this from blowing out, and honestly I didn't feel like taking the time to do that and move it. It would have made it a lot cleaner looking, but I'm just going to come in and we're going to sand it, all this stuff off. This is the back side. It's going to be covered in wires. And we're just going to go like this and get rid of it. And That'll be fine. If this is a nice job I was doing for somebody, I would make sure that there's a nice block behind it, that everything's nice and clean. But you know, honestly, this is a quick job, and that's a lot of holes to put blocks behind. We'll get an accurate count of the holes in a little while, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish sanding all the blowout out, and then it's ready for paint. All right, now that Pac-Man is cut out, we need to make the Santa hat. I've played around with a couple different drawings here, and I made myself a little scale. Each box is 6 inches, so 2 squares is 1 foot. And I'm going to go ahead and try to, you know, map something like this out. And so now that I know that everything is 6 inches, it makes it pretty easy to go ahead and transfer my locations on here, so I can just connect the dots and cut it out. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is essentially make myself a small grid on here. I made a mark so I don't waste, so I can not waste as much material. I made a mark here at 8 inches, but really that's just your starting point. This is essentially, you know, 0, and I'm just going to go every 6 inches and make another mark. So I went 8, and then you add 6, and we get to 14. We'll come in over here and make a mark at 20. And we're going to go through until we have 2 feet worth. So 20, then 26, and 32. So if I count my 6-inch blocks, I've got 1, 2, 3, and then over here, my 4th block. So that's 2 feet. And then I'll check my measurements here. So if I'm going by this, so I've got, you know, 4 blocks like I do on the wood, and then I got to go up 4 blocks as well to get myself to the 2 feet mark. And that's where I'm going to end up cutting. So I've got my ends, and then this other one, we'll just mark those other points. Right? Sounds simple. Can we do it? All right, so I've marked again, like I said, my 6-inch marks. I'm looking at my diagram here, and I need to make this next point right here, this point. That's got to be up 1 foot from 6 inches in. So we're going to take this other ruler here because that is 1 foot long. Let's make sure it's nice and square, and we're going to put a little point right there. That way we know we're going to that point, and we're going to then connect the dots there. And then I know from this point, so from that point what we just marked right here, we need to come down 6 inches and go to the left a foot. So 6 inches. Let's see, we've got, this is at the 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We go to the 2. And then we got to go over a foot. We'll make sure that this is square. So we'll put another mark here. Our rulers are rusty. Oh, I actually need to come out another 6 inches. Hold on. Let's do that. So we come over here. Mark that's 32. We got to go to 38. So there's 38 over here. And then we have to go up 6 inches or so from that point, because we would come down and over, or we can just go up. So here we go. And this is where we're going to put that little fluffy ball on Santa's hat. So that'll be somewhere in there. Not sure how big it's going to be yet, but we'll figure that out. And we also need to know how far up we need to go. We need to go up 2 feet. So we'll have to make sure we mark that. So I'm going to so this, oh wait, you know what? I need to make another mark too. Nope, that's that mark right there. Okay. I should number my marks. So I'm going to go like this. We've got point 1, we'll call this A, and we'll call this point B, C, D, and then over here is point E. So we've got, let's make sure we label them. So over here, this is point A. And then we had to go, well, actually that wasn't A. Come on, Tim. This is B. And then over here is going to be point A. So that was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is point A. And then we've got to go, this was point D. So we're good. There's point D right here. And then we have to go up and get point C. It's like somebody paid attention in algebra and geometry class, maybe. So I've got my tape measure down. It's following this line that we made here. Let's move that back. We're gonna follow it all the way up to the 2 foot mark, which is way over there. I'll zoom in. You're 2 feet over there, so we're gonna go ahead and, conveniently there's a piece of dust there, but that's unintentional. And that is point C. So now we can go ahead and connect our dots, essentially. I should go find my long straight edge. It's around here somewhere. So we've got our long straight edge here. Now we're just gonna go through and connect the dots, and I'm utilizing the factory edge here as a flat edge because that's one less cut I need to make. So let's go ahead and we'll kind of trace that in place. So we're gonna line this up. If you don't have a straight edge, that's okay. You know, just do what you can. So we got one line there, and now we'll go ahead and connect from point A to point D. All right, so there we go, point A to point D. All right, let's go ahead and do the part of the Santa's hat where it folds over. So we're gonna go from point C down to whatever we should have called this is point E. So we'll go ahead and we'll connect those points. It's essentially just like what you did in math class all those years ago, but scaled up. And then we'll go ahead and connect point D here to the same point. And now we essentially have a rough outline of our Santa's hat, except we need to put the little fluffy ball there at the end. Maybe I've got like a big giant can or something I can use to trace. How about a can of stain? This is like your standard can for, I don't know, stain paint. I'm just gonna go ahead and make myself some lines here to kind of line it up. So I've got like I'll make just basically a cross here, and that way we can make sure everything is centered as best as possible. So we have our target here, essentially, our kind of our crosshairs. We're just going to try to line this can up so that, you know, the highest points are where, you know, as centered as it can be. There we go. That looks pretty good. Pretty darn close. And then we're going to go ahead and we'll trace. And actually, you know what I might do? I'm going to do it twice. We're going to draw this one, and I might trace it again. I might actually need to move it closer so there's more wood. Yeah, I don't like that it's this narrow right here, so I'm actually going to, I think, line it up like this. We'll try that. And I'm still using that end point, but I'm basically using it, I use the lines here. That kind of works. I may even shift it down a little bit, I think. I think I'm just going to kind of eyeball this now. Something like that. And then when we come in, we'll know. It'll be just right. Sure. Yeah, I like that one better. Kind of hard to see with all those lines there, but you guys get the idea. All right, now we just cut it out. So we're gonna go ahead and cut this out. Go up that way, come over. Actually, might come up this way and then over, but that's pretty much it. Oh no, it's unplugged. This might help. There we go. Alright, now we'll cut in here, go around one of those circles, and figure that out. I got a little hung up in here, so I'm going to come in from this way, but I forgot I've got all this loose stuff hanging on the end, which is vibrating around, giving me a hard time. So we'll figure this out, don't you worry. There we go. And this part here, we're just going to clean this up with a sander, because that was my mistake, but hey, that's okay. But then we'll come in and we'll clean up these corners here too. And I have to come in and, this is the turn I made. Oh, right here. Let me zoom out. There you go. This is the turn I made so I could come in from this way. So now I'm just going to come in this way and knock that out. But now I can get rid of this extra material here that I don't need. So all of our extra materials out of the way, we'll just kind of come in quickly and then we'll get out the palm sander or something for this little mess here that I made. But if we flip it over, it looks like a Santa hat. It's a little lopsided in there. Oh, I need to clip that corner too. There we go. And maybe I'll make this one a little more defined. And there we go. That's pretty much it. And I gotta drill holes. These might be a little bit closer in here. You know, I was thinking I could take one string and just change the bulbs out so I get different colors. Not a bad idea, right? We'll see. Alright, so we've cleaned up Santa's hat, and now it is time to go through and drill all the holes on here. I'm going to keep them about the same distance around until I get this probably, you know, down here. I did clean this up. It's not perfect, but I'm content with it for what this job is, which is just a quick, hey, let's make a design. So, there we go. sand the edges real quick, and now we'll go ahead and drill holes before hopefully it's too dark out. Now it's time to put some holes in here. So I've got this oriented the way I think Pac-Man's going to be displayed, and just because I know I'm going to get some blow when I drill the holes, I've got my little jig that I made here, and I put some extra lines on it marking that everything is indeed 1 inch, so that way I can just come in, line those lines up with the edges, and lo and behold, I am right there where I need to be in the corner where the lights will be. I'm going to go ahead and I'll do that in a few other locations, but we will go from there and just keep putting more holes all over the place. Just keep on going. The nice thing is I can just I've got this flat edge here, so I know that everything's lined up. And away we go. Okay, here it is. We have to paint it and put the lights in, but we've got our Santa hat with our Pac-Man just about ready there. The next thing is to hire your kids to put the primer on and have them paint the entire thing one color. And it's okay if it comes out like this because they are going to be far away from the road. And they'll have a nice finish on it when it's all said and done. For primer, we're just using a cheap can of Rust-Oleum to put the primer on. About $5 a can. Alright, so we just finished putting a coat of yellow paint on Pac-Man here. We're just using another cheap can of paint. It's about $5. Glossy sun yellow is what we picked out. And now we're going to go ahead and paint the Santa hat red here. For the red, we're just going to use another cheap can of paint. This is Gloss Apple Red. We'll do that and pretty much be done. We're going to do 2 coats on each. And right now it looks like Pac-Man is eating the Santa hat. Well, when he eats it, he's going to turn into Pac-Man Santa. One thing I do want to show is, because I let the kids paint it and it's no big deal, but we do sometimes get rollover, big kind of paint globs here. And what I just want to show you is that you can just sand that off with some sandpaper. Come in and lightly get that, and it will go right away after you sand it off, and then just paint on like normal. I did run a coat, just run the sandpaper over this real quick, just because there's little pieces of wood that got in here from when the kids are doing primer, and that's fine. Again, I'm not worried about this. It was just a nice fun thing for them to do, and so I sanded it real quick, and we'll put a coat of paint on it, and then it'll be time for lights. Actually, we're gonna do 2 coats of red, but then it'll be time to put the lights on. So we put our coat of red paint on, and I've just been using these 2-inch wide foam brushes, and when I'm in between coats, I just throw it in a Ziploc bag. Keeps me from having to clean the brush or get a new brush if it dries out. So this is one handy thing you can do. And then if you've got like a beer fridge or something you don't care about and you want to use this brush for multiple days and multiple projects, you can actually toss it in the refrigerator and it'll keep it from drying out as well. And they wrap up and they stay pretty well in these little Ziploc bags, or other sandwich bags, something like that. That'll work. Now we wait for it to dry and put a couple more coats on. There we go. And we'll come back in and we'll put some white on this little fluffy part of the hat, and maybe a piece of white along the bottom. We'll see. Definitely some white by the ball. Now my method to putting these lights in is to just press fit them in, and then what we'll do is come back and put some hot glue in for each bulb to hold it in place. So as I go along, I am coming in, throwing some hot glue on here so that they stay. Help hold them in place. We'll see how they hold up. This may totally fail, but well, we've gone ahead, we've put all of the light bulbs in. A couple of them are crooked, but I think that's okay. I can address that at another time. And this is what it looks like on the back. I have at the very bottom my plug, and then I have the extra, which will attach, but it took a little bit. It was a 5/16 hole that with, you know, a little bit of reaming out, and that seemed to work. So now we're going to go ahead and do the Santa hat. So we finished putting all the lights into the Santa hat. We've got the Pac-Man done. I put these blocks here. I've made my marks for where I'm going to put my holes through to put these blocks in on the back side of the Pac-Man and the Santa hat. This is how it's going to look. On the back side are going to be these blocks to keep the back running board off of, you know, all the wires and everything. And then we're going to take that board and attach it to a base and plug it in, and we're just about done. So I'm going to I used a block and I marked my holes, and then I took a long straight edge stick, and lined everything up where I thought it would go. And that's how I marked all of my holes. If you look down here, you can see I've made some marks down there to line everything up, and that will be where I put a couple screws in. But now what I'm going to do is drill a couple holes from the top side so I can see through, and that will keep the wood from splitting. And then we will go ahead and put the blocks on, put the stick on, and we're getting there. So as you can see, I've got my long support stick connecting everything to each other. That's there, and I've got the blocking that we've screwed underneath to, you know, kind of elevate that block so that it's not touching the wires. And then underneath, in case you're wondering how I'm holding everything up, I'm actually just using, you can kind of see it, I've got a couple boxes there. That's the boxes for the lights that I'm using to just give me enough elevation so that I'm not pressing down on those lights and shattering any of those bulbs. But that should do it. Now I'm going to go ahead and, you know, kind of measure this out where I want. I'm going to give myself some extra. I'm not quite sure how much yet, but rather if I give myself more than I need, I can always cut off the excess. But to where the tape measure is about 5 feet. So overall the height of this is probably, oh, just under 5 feet, I would say, with the Santa hat. But we'll measure it out when it's all said and done, and we'll go from there. But now we're going to go ahead and get this lined up. We'll cut off the excess and we'll screw it on, and then we'll have one complete piece. And in typical That Tim Guy fashion, I've gotten my screws in. I did pilot holes for all of the screws. And of course, on the last screw here, the battery dies. And, you know, it's because it's cold outside. But that is just typical fashion for me. So anyway, I'm going to go charge the battery. We'll screw that in, but this is what I've got. Cut this stick about to 55 inches in length, and we're going to go ahead and finish screwing that in. And then I just got to come up with a base to mount this to, you know, put some weight on it or something, hold up, plug it in. We're almost there, but I'm hoping once I get that out of the screw and we can plug it in and test to make sure everything still works, because that would be nice. So we're screwed in now, and we're going to go ahead and take our excess lights and just kind of wrap them around this back stick here for now. I'm sure there's a way, and I may do it at some point, but I'm not going to now, but to cut the excess wire off and tie everything together. But we're just going to leave it as is, because this is supposed to be a quick decoration here. And let's see here. So here's all my excess that comes off the edge here, and we're going to just come down, and this is my plug here. So let me, actually, you know what I'm going to do first is plug everything in. So this is my plug here, and I need to plug it into the the rest of the lights. Maybe we'll do that first. So here we go. Here's my lights. They're still tied up to keep them out of the way. I'm gonna wrap these up. Like that. And this should provide maybe, a nice yellow glow behind everything. We'll go like this. Sure. And we'll plug them in. There we go. Maybe we should go the other way. There we go. That's how I want to do it. There we go. That's now plugged in. So the Pac-Man is plugged in to the hat. We've got all this extra wire here that we will just kind of, I think we're just going to tuck it in and around for now. Like so. And we'll take our extra twist tie here. I think we will, tie this in with the twist tie. Nothing, not fancy for sure, but it'll keep everything kind of out of the way. All right, there we go. We have everything connected. That's the idea. And now we get an extension cord and see if it all works. So here we are. It's all plugged in and lit up, and we got Pac-Man with the Santa hat on. All I gotta do now is come in and we'll put some yellow touch-up paint on these screws here, and we'll put some red touch-up paint up here. And I like how, let's see, I did the red lights where the hat is red, and I put the white lights where the bottom of the hat is. And we got the yellow lights for Pac-Man. I think this will look good at night, or at least I think it'll look good at night, and the kids will like it, and that's really all that matters for, our nerdy Christmas decoration here. I may come in at some point and kind of where the screws are, probably put some black paint for the eyes, but for now, we're gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna see what it looks like at night first before I go ahead and do that. So now we're gonna make the base. We took a scrap piece of 4-foot long 4x4 pressure treated wood. We cut it in half, and then we cut it in half again to make these pieces here. And now we're just gonna screw it all together and hope it stays. And then we'll go ahead and mount Pac-Man over there to this, and we should be good to go. Fingers crossed, but I might need to get different screws, a little bit bigger ones, but we'll see what works. So we've put together our base. We used 3.5-inch deck screws that I had lying around, and I put 2 in on each side, going in at an angle like this, and it should hold it. There's probably a better way to do it, but we're using materials we've got lying around the house here, so let's see, we'll do the drop test. And it's still there. Perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and we'll attach Pac-Man to it. All right, here it is. Santa Pac-Man, or Pac-Man Santa. Already lit up. Just got to put it in its final location. It's in the base. We went ahead and screwed the base in. Here is the back, as you can see, and I just screwed this base, this stick right to the base. We'll probably put more screws in. We'll monitor it over time, things like that. Here are the lights in the back, just extra lights, and then we've done our touch-up paint as well on the screws, so the screws will not be visible from the road, at least not mostly, visible from the road. So there we go. Pac-Man Santa. All right, everyone, it's here. It's in place. We've got our Pac-Man Santa ready to eat the power up of the Christmas tree. Both will light up when the house lights turn on, and we'll come back and take a look at everything, when it's dark out, so we can see this in its full glory here. But it is about, well, on the stand anyway, just about 6 feet tall with the Santa hat. And I'd say, I like it. It looks pretty good. Fits my personality anyway. Here's the back of it. And you can see everything's hot glued in, and all the lights are there, and we've just wrapped the excess lights around the back pole, and we've got more weight down here at the bottom. This shouldn't be going anywhere, but there we go. There it is. Pac-Man Santa. And now we wait for the sun to set so we can see this at night. Well, the sun has set, and here we are on the edge of the driveway, and there is our Santa Pac-Man eating the power up of the Christmas tree. We have finished it. I like the way this looks. It's got some pretty nice, crisp, clean lines here. It's definitely got that retro Pac-Man feel to it that we're looking for. I think it looks fun. It took a little bit longer than I thought it would, but it wasn't that bad. All in all, we've got gold bulbs, white bulbs inserted into the red incandescent bulb strip. You can just take the bulbs out and put in the color that you need. And over here on the tree, we've got some extra multicolored LED bulbs, which is probably part of the reason that this seems so much brighter. There are 64 bulbs in Pac-Man's Santa hat, and there are 84 bulbs in Pac-Man itself, bringing us to a grand total of 148 incandescent bulbs that are visible here in our overall Pac-Man, compared to there's actually about 200 LED bulbs, multicolored LED bulbs on that tree. So this definitely looks brighter, especially when they're all pointing directly at you. But there you go, guys. Here it is, all said and done. I hope you guys enjoy the way this looks. And this was a fun thing to do around the holidays. The kids had fun painting. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and have happy holidays.